Hello, this is Rika, an electric workshop study guide. Today's learning topic is to look at the PLC ladder configuration and learn the operation configuration on the time chart. On the right side of the screen is the PLC I/O section. There are 6 on the input side and 5 on the output side. There are 3 selector switches on the input, 3 buttons below, and a lamp on the output side. Look at the PLC ladder configuration. The 3 selector switches SSA, SSB, and SSC are contacts used to separate or reset the 2 operations. First of all, it starts when there is SSA input and no SSB input. In the ladder configuration, there are SSA contact and SSBB contact next to it. If the user has an SSA input and no SSB input, a signal is sent to the internal relay M0 coil. Below that, through the M0 positive contact, just once, starting from the timer T0 in the FMOV instruction, 2, T0. T1 timer values are initialized to 0. And according to the given condition, there is an M0 input and the same reset occurs when the user presses and releases the push button PBC. Now that the initialization part has been sorted out, let's check whether it works when the user presses the push button PBA or PBB below. The push-button PBA contact is positive, and when pressed, it is self-maintained by the M1 internal relay coil. Timer T0 is activated by M1 relay contact. M2, M3, M4, M5, and M6 transmit signals to PLA, PLB, PLC, PLD, and PLE respectively. Therefore, when timer T0 operates, the time is designated at 1-second intervals and signals are transmitted from internal relay M2 to M6. And the timer T0 configuration repeats this operation continuously by the T0B contact. To stop this action, it can be stopped by internal relay M23 or changed by the action of the lower pushbutton PBB. M23 internal relay sends a signal to the coil when the user presses and releases the pushbutton PBC. This will cause the operation to be stopped by the user. Now let's see if the PBB works. When the user presses the pushbutton PBB, it is self-holding by the M7 internal relay. M7 contact is brought in by M7 coil, and at this time, timer T1 is activated. The lamp turns on at 1-second intervals as in operation by pressing the pushbutton PBA. But it's different here. The PBB pushbutton turns on and off in the order of PLE, PLD, PLC, PLB, and PLA. At this time, each inner coil M8, M9, M10, M11, M12 sends a signal to PLE, PLD, PLC, PLB, PLA. Like the PBA action, it can be stopped via the PBC pushbutton negative contact underneath. Now let's look at the second action. If the user does not have an SSA input and has an SSB input, a signal is sent to the internal relay M13 coil. Below that, 10 timer values are initialized to 0, starting from timer T2 in the FMOV instruction, just once through M13 positive contact. And 15 for memory D are also initialized to 0. Here, it initializes even if there is an SSC positive input. When the user presses PBA, the D0 value is counted through the INC increment command. The maximum value is set to 6. Also, by pressing PBB, the D1 value is counted through the INC increment command. The maximum value is set to 3. And when the pushbutton PBA and PBB values below it are greater than 0, a signal is sent to the internal relay M14. When the M14 contact is activated, the pushbutton PBB counter value, D1, is multiplied by 10 and entered into D3. The value of D3 is used as the time when the lamp is turned off in the pattern operation below. Now M15 self-holding by push-button PBC negative input. When the M15 internal relay contact enters, the timer T3 starts to operate. When timer T3 is greater than 0, a signal is transmitted to the M16 coil. Signals are delivered in the order of M16, M17, and M18 at intervals of 1 second each. The PLC lamp is turned on by the M16 contact, and the PLB and PLD are turned on by the M17 contact. And PLA and PLE are turned on by the M18 contact. Timer T3 turns off the lamps after 3 seconds. When the operation in timer T3 below it is finished, it is in the standby state as much as D3 calculated above by timer T4. When timer T4 standby is finished, all lamps are turned on by timer T5 and the lamps are turned off at 1 second intervals. PLA and PLE are turned off by the M19 contact. PLB and PLD are turned off by the M20 contact, and the PLC lamp is turned off by the M21 contact. When timer T5 is finished, it is in standby mode again by timer T6. Timer T3 lamp operation pattern and timer T5 lamp operation pattern are counted in memory D7. The number of operation of the pattern can be known through the value counted in D7. And through this value, the user compares the input value D0 of the push-button PBA and automatically stops the operation of the pattern if they are the same. That is, if the value is the same. The value of D7 is reset to 0 again through the M22 internal relay coil. And the self-maintenance of the internal relay M15 is released and the operation stops. In addition, the entire initialization is performed by the user by SSC input. Below, the operation of each lamp of PLA, PLB, PLC, PLD, PLE is defined through the inverting contact. The part with the M0 contact is the lamp operation of the operation configuration when there is SSA input and no SSB input. The part with M13 contact is the ramp operation of the operation configuration when there is no SSA input and there is SSB input. Through today's learning, we learned about PLC ladder configuration and operation of each lamp. Now, let's check whether it works on the emulator and whether it works on the Rika sequence simulation.
Input on, wiring breaker. Input on, SSA. Press the button, PBA. Release the button, PBA. Press the button, PBB. Release the button, PBB. Press the button, PBA. Release the button, PBA. Press the button, PBC. Release the button, PBC. Press the button, PBB. Release the button, PBB. Press the button. PBC. Release the button. PBC. Press the button. PDA. Release the button. PDA. Press the button. PBB. Release the button. PBB. Press the button. PBB. Release the button. PBB. Press the button. PDA. Release the button. PDA. Press the button. PDA. Release the button. PDA. Press the button. PBC. Release the button. PBC. Press the button. PBB. Release the button. PBB. Press the button. PBC. Release the button. PBC. Press the button. PDA. Release the button. PDA. Input off. SSA. Input on. SSB. Input off. SSB. Input on. SSB. Input on. SSA. Input off. SSA. Press the button. PDA. Release the button. PDA. Press the button. PDA. Release the button. PDA. Press the button. PDA. Release the button. PDA. Press the button. PBB. Release the button. PBB. Press the button. PBB. Release the button. PBB. Press the button. PBC. Release the button. PBC. Press the button. PBC. Release the button. PBC. Input on. SSC. Input off. SSC. Press the button. PDA. Release the button. PDA. 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 Press the button. PBB. Release the button. PBB. Press the button. PBB. Release the button. PBB. Press the button. PBB. Release the button. PBB. Press the button. PBC. Release the button. PBC. Input on. SSC. Input off. SSC. Press the button. PDA. Release the button. PDA. 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 Press the button. PBB. Release the button. PBB. Press the button. PBB. Release the button. PBB. Press the button. PBC. Release the button. PBC. Input off. SSB. Input off. Wiring breaker.
World of Rika. Thanks for watching. Please refer to learning. Subscribe check.